Today's episode of Why Music Matters is sponsored by Buffalo Spree magazine. From the start, Buffalo Spree has been a champion of Western New York's arts community, with every issue showcasing the best of Western New York. What's on stage, on view, in the clubs, and in the concert halls. Pick up the latest issue to get a closer look, or visit buffalospree.com.
That's what it means to me. You know, it's the idea of I like to put people in the same room that love music.
Yeah.
You know, and all kinds of people and all kinds of music. And I think that job, you know, as I turn, you know, I'm 51. So, you know, when I think of my life's work, I think it's just as important, you know, like your work. It's just as important as a cardiologist because, you know, although you might need your cardiologist instantly,
Yeah.
you need good vibes, and you need music, and you need art, and you need the things that nurture your soul long term.
That old black magic has weaved its spell. That old black magic that you weave so well. 'Cause I see fingers up and down my spine. Same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine. Same old tingle that I
Hey there, music lovers. Welcome to Why Music Matters, a podcast where we examine the power and influence that music can wield in our lives. I'm your host, Jeff Miers. Today on the podcast, I'm lucky enough to spend some time with my friend Sam Marabella, a musician, songwriter, local music advocate, and co-owner of the legendary Buffalo, New York live music venue, Nietzsche's.
And only your kiss can put out the fire.
A veteran of beloved Buffalo indie jam band Sweatin Like Nixon, and a leading light in Buffalo's roots music scene. Sam is also a bit of a Dylan-ologist, whose love for Bob Dylan's music runs deep, and has informed his own work as a songwriter and performer. That work includes a brand new EP, Level 50, which is out now and available wherever you stream music. Sam is also threatening to put it out on vinyl and hard copy soon, so look for that. Sam is passionate about the Allentown neighborhood that Nietzsche's calls home, and we talked about the challenges facing that neighborhood following the recent back-to-back losses of the fabled nightspots, Mulligans Brick Bar, and the Pink Flamingo. He's also more than a little bit excited about the plans that the new team of owners has for the club's future as a primary live music destination in Buffalo. During this episode, we talk about all of the above. And Sam was prescient enough to bring along a guitar, which he duly employed in service of a tune written by the immensely talented Buffalo underground songwriter, Jeff Goldstein. Welcome to Why Music Matters, Sam Marabella. Today on Why Music Matters, I'm really pleased to welcome my old friend. I just mean in terms of the duration of our friendship. I'm not calling you old or suggesting that I am. But my friend Sam Marabella is here. We have an awful lot to talk about. Generally, why music matters to each of us, but also what you're up to lately. And I think a good place to start would be, you are one of the partners in the new Nietzsche's.
Yes.
Nietzsche's a staple of Buffalo live music for longer than I've even lived here. So 42 years.
It was 1982.
My first gig in Buffalo.
Where was that?
At Nietzsche.
Was it really? What was the name of that band?
The Tales.
Oh, awesome.
1990. But you're a partner in the new Nietzsche's. The Allentown neighborhood, as we know, has taken some serious hits lately. We just lost Mulligans Brick Bar, not even a year after we lost the old Pink.
6-7 months was the old Pink.
And for a lot of us, Allentown was kind of the hub, the heart of Buffalo culture, our culture, music and nightlife culture.
It's the heartbeat of the city.
It is.
For sure.
And I think seeing that area was what made me decide to move here. I was going to Fredonia. I came to visit Buffalo with friends I'd made who were from here. And I'm like, oh, I think I found my tribe. Right. This is where the freaks are.
Right. I think that's why I probably moved to the city also. I chose South Buffalo, I think, because when I was younger, I could afford a house there first, but then I moved back to the country. But even moving back to the city, it's always been, honestly, it's been Allentown. Yeah. Even when I lived in Holland, I remember being so busy with music. This is probably about 7 or 8 years ago, that I would play 5 or 6 times in a week, packed into basically 4 days. And I would, my wife would remember this. My girlfriend at the time, I told her that Sunday is my Friday.
Yeah.
And I would still, after I was done playing my second gig on a Sunday, I was playing the Anchor Bar every Sunday, and then I would go play softball in between, and then I'd start in the morning playing at Panos, play softball, play Anchor Bar, and then with no kids because I was going, I was finishing up my divorce, and that was when I had no children for 2 or 3 days, and I'd go right to Allentown, and I would follow the same track, go see Dr. Jazz on a Sunday, and I can't stop going back.
Yeah. So it made sense for you to become involved in Nietzsche's when Joe Urbino finally decided to get out of the business after having served well for a very long time.
Yeah, he really put in a long, 42 years is a long time.
Yeah, this is a hard business.
It is. Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe that has been my whole work career, has been to retire Italian music venue owners, because of course Broadway Joe's that was Joe DiVincenzo.
That's right.
Another great Italian, and then Joe Rubino.
And a piece of work.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's in Florida. I still get a phone call from him every couple of years, and he's pretty wild on the phone. Yeah,
well, he always was.
Yeah. So Nietzsche's is we're focused. I have a lot of ideas, and so do my partners, about what to improve.
Yeah.
And we're very careful not to use the word, change, because of course we don't want to change Nietzsche.
There's a lot to build on.
Yeah, there's a lot to build on.
Done well.
Yeah, well, it's that room, it's that room and that space. John Weber, who's our mutual friend, he said,
shout out to, as we said before the tape was rolling, definitely one of the top 10 humans I've ever known.
Yeah, he's one of the coolest human beings I've ever met, for sure. And I don't get to tell him that very often because he's so humble.
He is.
But anyway, so
he brings out the best in people.
Yeah, he said it in an interview recently, and I haven't heard anybody put it that way. Right now, when you go back to Nietzsche's and you walk in, it's so much better already. We've been working on it for months. It's so much better, and I'll tell you, he's been working on it for months specifically. He's a builder, he's a designer, he can fix anything. He can fix things that you can't see, and he can make things better that you do see.
Yeah. Great bass player too.
Great bass player, and that just flows out of him. But and just like the work. But he said it. He said, you can walk in here And it's the better part of your consciousness in your dreams of when, if you ever dream about going back to Nietzsche's, it's the best parts of your dream that you'll remember when you walk in now. And that's how it feels. And
wow, that's really interesting.
And I can't believe how he pulled that out.
That's pretty cool.
And spoke so.
That's very John.
It's very John. And he's right. It's so right now it's been cleaned up and decluttered. If you'd like to know about some of the future plans, I could give those to you because
I'm curious what you'd like to keep,
sure,
and what you hope to help evolve.
Sure. Well, so we started basically. I have 3 partners over there. It's John Weber, we just mentioned, his wife Kelly, Dave Arkelian, and everyone has lanes, but we're certainly crossing our lanes because we feel that everything needs to be improved. Dave really handles a lot of the operation and our staff. I have some experience with that, but right now I'm kind of told to work on work groups and work on basically how are we going to improve this, and how are we going to time that. So the timing, this has already started. We started really focusing in January because we needed the breather after the holidays. And this will go right into February. Last 2 weeks of February will close because I think that we realize that everything will run late. Mm-hmm. Anytime you make any plans, there's always something that kind of pops up. So we think that within 6 to 8 weeks, we can accomplish 80 to 90% of what we need to do.
Amazing. And but is this structurally?
No, actually, what's interesting is
booking or?
Yes, that would be one of the work groups is marketing and booking. So that the building is actually in great shape.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in great shape. The bones are great, and electrical has been updated. Thank goodness, especially after we discuss, what's happening with buildings in that area. So that's good. The building is solid. Our roof is solid. Our walls are solid. Our electrical is good. Our plumbing is good. The things that we need to elevate, it's going to be our sound.
Yeah.
We're going to replace our PA system and improve our speakers. We're going to put a lighting rig in. The balconies on the side.
Yes.
We're going to start having seating and have narrow table after narrow table so 3 people can sit
on the balconies
and have rows, because if anybody were to stand in front of me in a balcony, they might block my view at 5'7". So there'd be some preferred seating when it's a ticketed event. You could buy your favorite seat because it'll be numbered, and we can serve that number better as far as people coming up from the bar. So that also opens us up for recitals, music, schools, and it just opens us up. So bathroom stuff, we have to improve our bathroom and legendary
Nietzsche's bathrooms.
Right. So we need to improve behind the bar. We have a food menu coming out, so we can prepare food. So all of the things that should happen, and I think that we felt, if we don't go after it, within 6 to 8 weeks, it doesn't impact the same way. It doesn't change the trajectory of a business for your next year. And I've gotten used to some of those openings and some of those pushes with other businesses in the past. And I think that's what we need.
So Nietzsche's legendary in Buffalo, as a home and hub for local original music. Not always all original. Mm-hmm. I don't look down my nose at anything.
Right.
I just
not always local either.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I assume the commitment to local music will remain the same. But is it on your agenda to make it more of a destination spot for touring bands?
Yes, absolutely. So that's another part of that pause, by even our upstairs has been reworked. There's bands that, from out of town, your son would tell you that they can't go into town unless there's a good green room and there's a bathroom and those things are on a rider, so that's all done. That's already finished. So, you know, it's really every aspect of this place is going to come up, and also that other work circle is going to be marketing.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be marketing for all events, and we need to be marketing for private events and concerts and recitals and gatherings, and you know, it's you know, it's our church.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
Yeah, that's well said. So let's talk about why Nietzsche's matters, which could open up into, you know, why Buffalo music matters in a way.
Yeah.
Why even now more than ever is Nietzsche's such an important part of Buffalo culture?
Oh gosh, you know, it's I can't pretend that my opinion really matters all the time. You know, it doesn't. I can just speak from experience that my adult life, and even before my adult life, I was trying to sneak in there to see what was going on. You know, in fact, my sister, I guess it would be 1989, she was going to UB. And so I would have been probably a sophomore or a junior in high school. I was 15 or 16. And she snuck me in there, and I was going to see Jamie Noter Thomas from Syracuse, who's still out there doing well.
Many times at Broadway Joe's over the years too.
Yeah, and so she snuck me in there. She was bringing home tapes that were taped off the board, and that's really, you know, I really focused on music, and I just couldn't believe that someone was doing this alone and could sound like that.
Yeah,
and so she snuck me into Joe's. She snuck me into Nietzsche's. First time into Nietzsche's, I couldn't believe I got in because I had my sheriff's card pulled, you know, a couple of times when I was trying to sneak in there before, you know, PJ, remember PJ
yes,
at the bar?
I do.
You know?
Rest in peace, friend.
Rest in peace. And so I got in, and they told me to, you know, stand by the side where the sound man is. And that was, they used to put the board right next to the door that led to the outside parking lot.
Yep.
And so I was like, fuck yeah. And I leaned against the door and set off the alarm.
Smooth way to be inconspicuous,
right,
buddy.
So, but you know, you know, that then it was a goal, you know, to learn an instrument well enough to attract girls,
mm-hmm.
and to play at Nietzsche's.
Yeah,
and it took me a while. It took me till 19 or 20, and I was there, you know, pushing to get up on stage with Mike Meldrum.
Yeah.
And who's
another rest in peace, man.
And then I bumped into Jeff Goldstein, and he blew my mind with with an album that I couldn't put down, and tried to learn all the songs on.
His understanding of music theory and what a genius he was. I mean,
and so, you know, so my whole adult life, gosh, you know, it's become my life work. So that's what it means to me. You know, it's the idea of, I like to put people in the same room that love music.
Yeah.
You know, and all kinds of people and all kinds of music. And I think that job, you know, as I turn, you know, I'm 51. So, you know, when I think of my life's work, I think it's just as important, you know, like your work. It's just as important as a cardiologist, because, you know, although you might need your cardiologist instantly, you need good vibes, and you need music, and you need art, and you need the things that nurture your soul long term, you know. And it sounds hippy dippy.
Oh, you're in the right place for this, buddy.
But it's true.
This is the language.
It's true.
I
mean, what is more important? What is more important than that? And, you know, people...
Family, that's about it.
Right. You know, and that's integrated into most families. People that are really into music, I mean, it's not usually one person in the family, you know, it spreads.
Yes, it does.
And so I, you know, that's what I think that Nietzsche's means to Western New York. You know, it's a church. It's where all the freaks and geeks and cool people come to play. And there's other places too. There's other churches too.
Yes.
And they're popping up. and if you go back years and years, we need to do a great job at Nietzsche's, because now, we would go to the Odd, and then you'd go to Nietzsche's, but now there's Donnie's doing amazing at the Town Ballroom, and it's a great place to see a show. And we need to do a good job to be up to his standards. I need to invite him in and ask him some questions. Yeah. And I see the way that Jackrabbit does it, and I like it. And I like the culture.
Josh Mullen and everyone over there.
Yeah. So,
these places have a similar vibe. I do feel that they're, different branches of the same tree.
Absolutely. And these are all the same people, that we've all been kind of coming up together, and yourself included. I've been reading your articles and your work for a long time, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, man.
In fact, I feel like, you should be interviewed. That would be your best podcast. In fact, I don't want to do it.
Oh, no.
I don't want to do it, but I have to do this.
Okay? All right, let's do it.
And we'll see if any of your...
Wait, more coffee.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the poet laureate of rock and roll, the voice of the promise of the 60s counterculture, the guy who forced folk into bed with rock, who donned makeup in the 70s and disappeared into a haze of substance abuse, who emerged to find Jesus, who was written off and as a has-been by the end of the 80s, and was suddenly shifted gears, releasing some of the strongest music of his career beginning in the 1990s. Ladies and gentlemen, Columbia recording artist Bob Dylan. That's badass.
For context,
please tell them.
What Sam just read was something I wrote for the Buffalo News. That
in 2002.
In 2002,
on August 9th, it came out.
Yeah. Wow, you remember this?
and then he had a concert.
Yes, and so it came out, and we went to the show at the fair. And normally the introduction would be, ladies and gentlemen, Columbia recording artist Bob Dylan. And, bam, the introduction started, and I was with my brother, and he's like, he's reading from your article.
It's unbelievable.
I was completely flabbergasted. Right. Then he used it every night for 9 years.
Was it 9 years?
9 years.
And all over the world?
All over the world. I have recordings of it in Tokyo.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
It was pretty cool.
I'm motioning to the sound booth. That's amazing.
They are super unimpressed with me, as they should be.
That's amazing. And how crazy to hear that pushed back at you, man.
It was just the coolest thing ever. I had a friend who was, he's still my friend, but he was friends with a guy on the Dylan Road crew, a guy named Red, who was with Bob for a long time, and I don't know if he is anymore. But my friend was like, Bob has to meet you. I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to. I know that. He doesn't like people. That's not fair. But I mean,
I think it might be accurate, though.
I think it might be accurate. But I guess my friend was persuasive, and the story I got back was Red asked Bob, do you want to, I said, the only thing I'd like to know is he making fun of me? If he is, I'm still fine with it. And so he said, Red asked Bob, are you making fun of Jeff with this? And he said, no.
Yeah.
And he said, would you like to meet Jeff? And he said, no.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Well, it's
and I'm great with that. Because
it's super accurate. And even more so as you look back. And I think I have to be honest with you, man. It's super insightful that you wrote that back in 2002. So... I know that I'm hanging with some Buffalo royalty.
Oh,
I really mean it.
It's
super impressive, and I love it. How many things are written about him? And so you wrote that even before the concert.
Yeah, wild.
So, and I missed that concert. And I remember thinking, Weber went to that concert.
He was there. Yes.
Yeah. Were you with him or no?
I saw him.
Did you?
We,
yeah.
We weren't sitting together.
Yeah, I missed that concert. I remember thinking, well, I have a gig, That's the best reason to not be at a concert.
That is the best reason.
But anyway, I wanted to.
Well,
I had to bring it up.
That was pretty cool, Sam. And I know how much you love Dylan. Did you see the film yet?
I did. Yeah,
And
I did. I liked it.
quick review.
I liked it.
I know it isn't really necessarily meant to be chronologically accurate. Or anything.
I don't think it is.
You're
especially
making a film.
If you really know about him, it's not. But it's you know what I really enjoy is
we know far too much about it.
Right.
It's almost creepy.
I know it is. But I think he's the best songwriter in the last 150 years. When I think of that, I went to see that with my wife last week, and it's I like the time period.
Yeah.
I liked seeing New York City.
Yeah.
In the 60s, and
the Village.
I also liked seeing how the size of the Newport News Folk Festival.
Yeah.
They show you the size of it back then, and I liked seeing that.
Accurate, small.
Yeah, it was small. In fact, I actually really enjoyed that, and I got used to him, acting like
Timothy Chalamet. How did he do? I know he really cared.
Yeah, I think he did a good job. Even the singing, it's okay. I mean, I'm not there to hear. I'm not there to listen to always Bob Dylan singing,
Right.
Although that's really grown on me too. I think he's it's a crazy thing, I think he's one of the best singers around, when I think of the way.
His phrasing
and even, the notes. I like singers that are, they're singing, their efforts are above their ability, and that
creates a yearning in the music, I think. A sense of reaching.
Absolutely. It's like, it's like being a short basketball player.
Right.
Those are the cool guys to watch.
It. Yeah.
Like Spud Webb. But I did like the movie. I think it's why? Because I think you'd love it too, Jeff, because of the story.
Yeah. I'm planning on seeing it.
It's the best story. It's the story that it's the story that we want,
Yeah.
But also there is it's very telling, and that's something that I mentioned to my wife after we left, is, boy, there's something very lonely about that kind of fame, or just being famous for that long, It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I can't, I felt pressure when I was younger and starting out with performance in front of people, and the pressure, at 19 and 20 and 21 is like, I can't believe that kind of pressure, was put on him. So,
yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was a good story, man.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, what's your relationship with Dylan's music now? I know that's evolved over time. I know you've interpreted a lot of his work, and performed it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, so, with my own music, it's regrettably, I've kind of stopped writing. I used to write, and it used to flow out of me a little bit easier.
Sweatin Like Nixon. Yep.
And even some solo stuff. Yeah. I released an EP about 4 weeks ago. I recorded it in my living room with a full band, and, in Holland before I moved out of there. And, I just, the writing doesn't come to me the same way. I just don't, I don't have my own voice right now, and I don't know why that is, but I'm working on it. And I know that kind of ebbs and flows and comes and goes. And, it bothers me a little bit because I used to be so fast at it. But now I'm not. And maybe that's just because, maybe my age, I'm looking at things a little bit different. There's things I want to say. And also, I know how personal music is now as I get older.
Yeah.
That, when you start singing things in front of people, you're telling them exactly how you felt, at least for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't want everyone to know that right now.
It's intimate. Yeah. It's none of your business.
It's none of your business. But, when it comes to, Bob Dylan, gosh, I catch him anytime I can because, of course, it's the last time I'm going to see him.
Right.
I like all versions. I have sat in the audience before, and I could sit in the wrong seat, or it's a different song that comes on, and I will look up and say, "Is this good?"
Yeah.
but it is good, and it's good because the interpretation can't be in 3 minutes.
Right.
It's this body of work.
It's just amazing to me how he found new ways to approach this material.
Right.
Constantly.
Right. And it just keeps coming.
Sometimes I prefer, I like some things better than others that he does. I've liked some versions of the band better than others. Yeah. But it's always interesting, no matter what.
I know you're a Springsteen fan, and a long time ago you stopped into I think it was Anchor Bar, and I appreciate it because you wrote a nice blurb about our performance. You were playing there
with John and Scott Keller, I believe. Right?
Yep. And right when I saw you, I was like, I got to play a Springsteen song for this guy, and I played you some B-side of I think it was off of Ghost of Tom Joad.
It was awesome. What tune did you do? That was a while ago now.
I got a coal mine. Go tripping across that thing.
Oh yeah, straight time. Yeah, great song.
Yeah. So but anyway, I heard somebody comment, and I thought this was a cool comment. I'm trying to think of who said it. They're comparing Springsteen to Bob Dylan. I think it was one of the guys.
Always silly to me, but
one of the. Oh, I agree. I agree.
Unfair to both.
But the comparison was the statement. It wasn't one was better than the other.
Okay, cool.
But the comparison, I think it was one of the guys from Penn and Teller. It was the taller guy. Who is that? Is that Penn or Teller?
50-50. I don't know.
So he talked about how, you go to a Springsteen concert and he's an awesome cheerleader. I mean, this guy, and you become Springsteen and his songs, and or you become.
That's his gift.
What a gift,
that passion that you can then inhabit alongside him.
And it's just like it's contagious, and you're on a roller coaster ride or you're surfing with him.
Yeah.
And he just compared to the difference. People are comparing them unfairly, but he mentioned, how you go see Bob Dylan and it's kind of just like he's just like, here it is.
Yep. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it, and it's just a different. It almost reminds me of I'm sure you've been to a couple of Prague shows.
One or two over the years, yes.
So it's amazing. You ever go see? I haven't seen Genesis, but I've seen a lot of other bands cover Genesis or tribute acts, or I've seen Crimson and some other. But there could be a quiet part of a song, and somebody in a Prague audience just stands up and they're like, yeah,
I love it. Totally. And that's usually me.
But and it's not because of the thrust of the song or the beat, or it's not catchy. It's because it just hits them right in the heart.
Right in the heart.
And there's no faking it.
No.
So but anyway, as far as looking at that music, I just can't believe how, he's just able to reinvent himself, and the writing's still good and it's still clever.
Yeah.
Some of it's really deep, some of it.
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
I went through a period not that long ago, where just kind of obsessing over desire.
Yeah.
And songs like, Oh Sister, and just.
Yeah,
that was an interesting period. We can get sidetracked,
right?
But that was such an interesting period.
Well,
of writing
isn't
for
it a
him.
soundtrack? Isn't there an album side that's a soundtrack of your life?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Or parts of your life. I mean, it's so good. And I know I get it that you can't just get it. It's like the Grateful Dead. I went through years where I was like, I just couldn't gather it, and then I listened to this 10-12 year period of them, and it was like, this is great.
So,
to
great. Me, Robert Hunter is one of the few lyricists that I put near Dylan. I thought he was absolutely brilliant.
I'm sure you've listened to that album they wrote together.
Yes.
Is that Together Through Life, or is it? Yeah. Gosh.
Amazing to me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Today's episode of Why Music Matters is sponsored by Buffalo Spree magazine. From the start, Buffalo Spree has been a champion of Western New York's arts community, with every issue showcasing the best of Western New York. What's on stage, on view, in the clubs, and in the concert halls. Pick up the latest issue to get a closer look or visit buffalospree.com.
But anyway, so you can't just get it. You can't just get it. You know, it's something has to kind of hit you, and then you kind of dig in a little bit and figure out something else that you like. But that happened with me with a bunch of bands. The Tom Waits that happened with. And
the same kind of rabbit hole. I mean,
right, yeah, and
also fascinating. Artists.
Right,
talk about constant reinvention.
Right, yeah. So that's something that I've enjoyed with my own music too, with band members. So in the last, after Sweatin Like Nixon, I didn't play for 3 years and at all. And then I signed up my son for a private school, and I had to figure out how to pay for it. And I started playing for money. Mm-hmm. And it was uncomfortable for me because I'm not really I'm not really a conventional singer or songwriter or cover artist, So I kind of always struggled with that in the beginning to find that niche, and so I remember I started playing at Merge first over on Delaware.
Yeah.
And I learned how to play quiet there. And, in doing that, it really opened me up to my instrument, to be focused and sit there and play my instrument with a very quiet drummer. I added one player, Scott at the time, and then started adding bass players, and kind of went backwards and just kind of restarted. And so now I actually have about 12 or 13 players that rotate. I do have, a core group of 5 or 6 that I pull from that that know the material well enough, but that idea was just because I wanted to work and I needed to make money. And so I kind of came up with the idea that if I can play any time and not turn anything down, it will come and it will build, and I was enjoying it, so that's been my push for a while, and what's happened, and I feel good about this, is that I feel like I've become a working musician.
Yeah.
And I used to be in bands, but to be a working musician is a nice feeling because I can fit anywhere. I can play with a duo, which I don't prefer to. I like a trio or a 4 or 5, 5-piece.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I just need drums.
I need drums.
I need a rhythm section.
Absolutely.
It can be a subtle one.
Absolutely. And that's actually what I've had with Ryan Campbell.
Who's amazing.
Larry Rizzuto.
No, also amazing.
Yeah. Jamie Sunshine.
I love her. And I've played a few gigs with her recently.
Right.
Boy, she's got the right last name.
Right. She's brilliant. They're all brilliant. And then
all great and all very different.
Yep. And so that really takes the same core 200 songs that I rotate and changes them every night. And so that's super cool for me, and all these different settings, and it's ever changing, and sometimes I feel like pushing and really playing. And then sometimes it's nice to take a month and only play 4 or 5 or 6 times and relax. Summers seem heavier because there's just more.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I'm getting a little choosier. It's just as far as my time and,
It's a hard lesson to learn. I'm still learning it, and I'm a little bit older than you. I never said no.
Right.
If somebody offered me a gig,
right,
my default was, and my wife has helped me learn how to occasionally not say yes to everything.
Yes.
And I think the motivation for that was just that you're always honored by the opportunity to play.
Absolutely.
And I always felt like it was my responsibility to do it then. If somebody asked me, I had to do it.
It's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic, no matter which way you look at it. And I like the idea that, especially with this kind of music that I've been playing, it's basically Americana. It's country, blues, and jazz.
Folk.
And folk and bluegrass. And these notes just disappear after you play them.
Yeah, there's air sculptures, right? It's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. And I can't even tell you the value that I have in the communication that happens during those songs that nobody knows about except those 3, 4, 5 people on stage.
Yeah.
It is a language that, you know, and it's funny, if you talk to any of the guys that I play with and ladies that I play with, they'll tell you that I don't tell you the name of the song. I'll start it out and we're gone, you know, and I love it. Every once in a while, I'll have a set list like, you know, next week because I have to, because you got to play a few things in order. But other than that, it's really, you know, it just started up and I really like it. And, you know, and it's trustworthy, you know, it's being trustworthy with, you know, and not being, there's no ego involved. And I like to hear all the instruments. It's really. Well,
you just answered you really got to the heart of the why music matters portion of, what this podcast is about, I think. Bob Weir once said something, and not that long ago, in an interview that I thought was really interesting. They're like, you know, about the idea of every time you play the song, it's different. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean necessarily radically changing the arrangement.
Right.
What he described it as, we take these songs on a walk through the woods and we look around and, you know, and we mark our journey.
Right.
Something like that. That kind of sounds like what you're talking about. And I think that's really cool. And can you talk about a little bit more about why that's important to you? Because you know, I grew up like a huge Rush fan, but I'd go see them and it would, you know, it was rehearsed. Mm-hmm. It was performed very much the same, you know, each time. And I think that's because it was so incredibly difficult to perform. Sure. It had to be. But I also love this idea of, you know, taking the music on a stroll through the woods to see what you can see. You know?
You know, that reminds me of, you know, Sweatin Like Nixon. So for essentially, you know, 11 or 12 years, we were really focused on writing and playing. And we were playing on a jam band circuit.
Yeah. And killing it. I was a huge fan.
Thank you. Thank you. You were very kind to us. And we put out 4 full-length records. And that's something that we really learned to do. We learned to write and perform. And we learned to play these songs in different places, meaning that, you know, if you're a jam band, you know, you go out and you play for 3 hours, you know, that's the gig. And it's doesn't mean that it's better than a punk band that goes and burns it down in 30 minutes.
No, it's just different.
It's just different. And I like that too.
Yeah. I like it all. If it's good, it comes from the heart.
If it comes from the heart, right. So, but in learning to do that for 3 hours, you also learn, you know, to do a power set, and that's what that reminds me of when I think of Rush. But you know, we did a lot of written music. We did a lot of written riffs.
The Tales were like that too, very much. Like, we rehearsed like crazy.
Yeah,
we played, you know, kind of complex stuff.
Yeah,
pretty much the same.
You know, yeah. Oh, I remember. Gosh, you know, it's funny too. I remember seeing the Tales. I remember seeing so many bands when I was young, and I've taken a piece of that, of course, like every other musician, and just you take it with you.
That's what we all do,
I
right?
mean, we really do.
So. Yeah.
We really do. But anyway, with Sweatin Like Nixon, we would have really strong written parts. Dan Reno, who was our bass player and still a very good friend. I play with all of these guys separately, except for the drummer, really. He's just busy with some other bands. But I still play with the guitar player regularly, Jason Drabeck, and Dan Reno's bass player. And Dan had a great way to arrange music. He's a great writer. However, as far as the arrangements, you know, he could arrange something so it would make sense or so it didn't make sense, but would still flow.
Yeah. And
we would always leave or find, after we'd play something a few times, an area within that song, and it almost felt like a parenthesis that you could really embellish and stretch out. So those guys were such great players, and they were so beyond me that I feel like it was like essentially going to school, and I learned backwards. I learned how to improv first.
Yeah.
And I struggled to keep up with the parts. And, however, it's all been this music school.
Mm-hmm.
And
that never ends.
And it's never done. Yeah.
That's the goal.
Right.
To have perpetual beginner's mind,
Right. It's hard to keep it fresh too, and and you go through different stages too. If you're playing 6 days a week, for me at least, it's very difficult to be focused on writing something.
Mm-hmm.
Although
you're working all the time.
Because you're working all the time or learning something new, But even that, I find like that could come and go in months, where you just feel like learning. You feel like absorbing something. It's like writing a good letter, if you're not in the mood, or a good article, if you're not in the mood, it could be really laborious and difficult to pump out, at least for myself. I'm sure you on a miserable day, you could probably still write a great article.
That's awfully kind. But it's just like music to me. It always was, the writing. I didn't come from a journalism background. And I was never, frankly, trying to be a journalist. I thought I was just doing creative writing.
Right.
But it's just like music. It's the same mind that you look to get to that place, and you're kind of trying to create the same kind of arc as a piece of music does.
Yeah.
So it's similar.
All these jobs really are just to support our music. Our lust for music.
I always, people ask you're that guy from the Buffalo News. I'm like, well, I'm a musician. Yeah, that's my day job. But
that's exactly.
And
how
I was grateful
feel.
for it.
Right.
And super grateful to people.
Well, really, if you think about it, that's exactly the correct answer, because that's the most constant thing in my life has been, it's outlived marriages, it's outlived school. I mean, I went to college for something completely different.
What did you go to school for?
Social work, which ties into the bar scene.
Well, actually, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
But it also ties into the part of you, I think, that creates music, or that wants to be a musician.
Yeah.
Which is compassion,
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't look away, right away too. It was silly. I really grew up listening to, I have two older sisters, and parents that didn't really buy music. And, I remember daydreaming because, the only music I was exposed to was Neil Diamond. And I love Neil Diamond.
Oh, yeah. Well, I could, my parents listened to him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's part of me that just, it's impossible for me not to react to it.
And I love, I mean, it's built into us. So that was my first concert at the Odd. But of course,
cool.
My mom listened to Barbra Streisand, and then they did a record together. And, I thought they were my parents,
Oh, how cool is that?
So I just didn't have those musical choices until I got to school, and I had friends with older brothers, and then it was like
had record collections.
AC/DC. I mean, what
is that strange fire? That is awesome.
Right. So to be exposed to all that, I feel like I'm almost a late bloomer, in some regards.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like to play a tune or do something. Like that?
I was gonna because we've been working so hard at Nietzsche's. I'm gonna play a song for you that Jeff Goldstein wrote.
Amazing.
Yeah. Can I move this microphone? Yeah. I'm just gonna back it up.
Can you give a little background on this for listeners? Let's talk about Jeff, because everyone who went to Nietzsche's.
Yeah.
Certainly in the 90s and then the early 2000s.
So, I met Jeff.
Got to know him pretty well.
You know where Pausa is, of course.
Yeah.
So Pausa at the time.
19 Wadsworth. Right around the corner.
That at the time there was nothing in there,
right.
and it was being used as a rehearsal space. And that rehearsal space, I was performing or practicing with a band there, and it was Ed Hernandez. Remember Ed Hernandez,
yes,
who's passed. Great guy. And I liked it because I was playing harmonica and I only had to bring harmonicas.
Best load in ever.
So after we were done playing there, I think Garbaz was there.
Yeah.
I hear this guy come in. I'm probably about 23, 24, and he starts yakking it up with me and wouldn't stop. And
that was Jeff.
And I've known him ever since. And we have a meal together every few months. Saw him about 3 weeks ago. And he had this record. It was called Where Are All the Miracles? I don't know if that's really the name of the record, because none of
you have a cassette of this, I'm assuming.
This
right?
was a cassette.
Yeah.
I think I have a CD somewhere of it now that was burned.
I have a cassette.
Do you really? Yeah. This thing this tape got caught in my tape deck. It was like,
no.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a CD version of it. I have to dig it up. But I tried at one point to learn all of the songs in this thing, and it was I came close, and then
challenging.
It's really challenging. But anyway, so when I heard it though, I was just like, my gosh. And when I met him at first at this rehearsal space, I talked to him for a while, and I didn't know that he even played. And then I went to Nietzsche's, to play open mic. And, I was very young, and I was put on very late at night. And after I was done, Jeff walked in. And again, I knew nothing about his musical history or prowess. And he grabs Mike Meldrum's guitar and he welcomes him on stage. And he played a couple of songs, and I just thought I saw Paul Simon and James Taylor and the same person. It's gifted,
yeah.
And then I had this tape and album that I bought, and there's a live version of some show that he did at Nietzsche's at one point, and it's funny. He calls it the Imlick.
The Imlick.
And I think you could probably look that up too, what that means. But so I'll play the song because I love Jeff and I love Nietzsche's, and this is one of the things, to keep his songs going. I'd like to be able to.
I love it. This is very cool.
I'm gonna put my glasses on because I can't see anymore. Look, you're such a lady. All the men are courting around you. Play with their emotions like a dog plays with a bone. And they want to be your lovers, and they want to be your best friends. They wonder if you like them, but you never let them know. And you want for her to like you, and you try so hard to please. You think you've almost made it till she kicks you in your knees. Smiles and tells you that you better face reality. You ask yourself, how could this all be happening to me? But that lady knows her feelings. She's been this way before. She won't be fooled by promises or BMWs anymore. So you screw that Friday night smile on. You step up to her door. You are surprised because she's not at home to answer. You want for her to like you, and you try so hard to please. You think you've almost made it, she kicks you in your knees. Smiles and tells you that you better face reality. You ask yourself, how could this all be happening to me? Lord bless my soul if I can find all the answers to my questions. I've done so damn much thinking that I don't want to think anymore. I have traveled down so many roads in all the wrong directions. Tried to win that lady, but I just don't know what for. And you want for her to like you, but you try so hard to please. You think you've almost made it till she kicks you in your knees. Smiles and tells you that you better face reality. You ask yourself,
this all be happening to me? Do-do-do.
Very Jeff Goldstein to end on a major 7 chord there. And first of all, bravo. That was outstanding.
Oh gosh, thank you. It's
And
Jeff.
what beautiful chords.
What beautiful chords.
What
Yep.
nice progressions he
Yep.
writes.
And I use that every wedding that I've ever played, and in the corner of a place for brunch, and on the Miss Buffalo, and I like that I can change that song around, and I play it in double time with a jazz band, and and light it up. So
That's very cool. Has Jeff ever heard that?
oh yeah, he has.
Did you get the seal of approval?
I think so. I'm good friends with him. And he likes it. But it's his recording, which is brilliant, is basically with one instrument and maybe a voice or two,
Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing. It's probably on a 4-track.
It definitely, I think it's just a 4-track recording.
Right. So, I have, the first time I think that I played it for him with a full band, and that's with, he's probably with Harry Grazer on the keyboard and, Mike Wagner playing bass. These are talented people.
These are
Nick
some
Randall. Nick Randall on guitar.
Yeah,
and
serious Buffalo cats.
these are serious. These are the best players that I've ever met in my life. And for them, Ryan Campbell on drums
They're
or
amazing.
Larry, and to do that in double time and to turn it into a fast jazz song and bring it back down, and it's he was
That is a jazz song.
It is.
The chords
It
are
is.
very...
It is, and Jeff, and we improvise over that too. So, I did see Jeff once. He was pretty overwhelmed, and I saw him, give me a smile, but also left the room.
Perfect.
Yeah,
You hit it.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And shout out to Jeff. Just a wonderful,
No doubt.
kind of Buffalo treasure.
Absolutely. He
I
is.
learned a lot from talking to him.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought, I'd step outside Nietzsche's to have a smoke, and like an hour later, I'm still sitting there talking to
And he'll tell you
Jeff.
about buildings and history and
He
people that
knows Buffalo.
Yeah.
And so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I thank you, man. And I guess I'm going to take this opportunity to make it official that we have at least penciled in agreement to do
right
a
on.
little special gig sometime in the coming months
That would be great.
to celebrate the anniversary of a particular Bob Dylan record.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Now we have to do it, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm into it.
What would you, to wrap up, what would you like to tell people about Nietzsche's and what to look for in the next year, and why they should come?
Well, everything's going to be better and improve. And I hear everybody right now, of course, with, losing 2 iconic businesses and buildings,
Yeah.
that Allen's in trouble. And, I don't really feel that way.
Good.
I really don't. I mean, we're going to miss those buildings. Those buildings are made up of people. And that's what's important. Obviously, that no one was hurt. There was no loss of life. But I don't worry. I feel like worrying makes you old,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have that built into me to worry. I feel like there are new businesses popping up in Allen all the time. I know there's a place called, it's a 26. There's a place called the Beacon Grill that's sandwiched in between ABV and Casa Azul,
Yeah.
who has the best courtyard in that area. I mean, it goes on. And Frizzy just redid the front. I mean, this goes right down the street. This is where the cool people hang out. It's inclusive. It is.
It's always been inclusive, and it continues to be.
Yeah. So I would take that it's, it hurts, and you got to figure out what you're doing. You know, when you see a fire like that and how devastating that is, that building, to see that building across the street, you know, after that fire was even put out and smoldering, it's devastating. It's devastating to see that kind of damage. And it makes you think, you know, could you imagine a city or a town or a block or a country that's getting beaten down like that? That's one building. So
shout out to our brothers and sisters in Los Angeles right now.
Right, in Los Angeles, in the Ukraine, and all over the world. And, you know, so it's humbling. It's humbling. But I don't worry. You know, I hear people say, oh, people don't go here, they don't go there. You know, success and in these places, it bounces around, you know, and there's places that they get put on the shelf. I have other businesses. I have House of Charm. I love it there. It's very inclusive. It's for everybody. But I also know that some of these places, you know, that are popular, in 2 years, you know, you're put on the discount rack.
Right.
Like another can of beans, you know, and that's not Nietzsche's, that's not Allentown.
There's something enduring about it.
There is, and the people that are worried, or they say they're worried, or, you know, when's the last time you've really been there? You know, because there's Theater of Youth down there. I mean, if there's no better place actually to go for a meal in Buffalo than Allen Street, and for music and art also.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried. I think that that's exactly the community that always bands together. It's just a community that's going to continue to flourish. There's going to be different buildings.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's there's no way around that. I mean, I don't, you know, I can't even, you know, put myself into their shoes as far as how that would feel. So I could leave you with that too, is, you know, we're going to do a fundraiser for them. I don't know when this will air, but we're doing a fundraiser for the staff at Brick Bar on January 17th and 18th. It's just music all day. It's a $20 ticket. Ticketing all, you know, goes to them completely. We're doing a raffle where it's just gift cards. So businesses are putting, you know, gift cards in our hands to just pull raffle tickets. We're not doing baskets because it's just, it's too fast. People need help fast, and we want to put some money in their pocket. So, so that's going on, and just like you would think it would. Where else would you have a fundraiser? You know, if it's our neighbor, you know, it's our neighbor. So,
well, bless you for that, man.
Our pleasure. I have good partners, and thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's really fun. And we will absolutely have to do this again because, you know, I think we only, you know, hit the tip of the iceberg on some of the stuff that we could definitely babble about.
Well, I'd love to show you, you know, maybe we could sit down and talk at Nietzsche's sometime, you know, right after February. There's so much going on there that we could take a walk around and
love to.
Yeah, and show it to you, you know. But I accept your challenge to the Dylan album.
Woo!
And I can't wait. And you should pick out if you want to play bass, you play bass, whatever you want to do, man. Play some guitar. We have room for that.
I could play guitar along with you, and then maybe we could get John Weber on bass.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Well, listen, we will work that out, and I can't wait to do it.
Awesome.
And I really appreciate you being here, Sam.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to talk about music and, you know, why it matters so much to all of us, and especially here in Buffalo right now. So, yeah, everybody come down to Nietzsche's, man. I mean, there's going to be a rich, eclectic array of music like there has always been there. And it really is part of the heart of the Buffalo music scene. So.
Right on. Thank you.
First beer's on Sam.
You got it. You got it.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.